All right, so you're probably here today because you keep hearing about SEMrush. And you're
Yeah.
starting to wonder, like, okay, is this thing worth it for me? Well, that's exactly what we're going to deep dive into today.
Yeah, we dove into an SEO Unplugged podcast episode,
Oh, yeah, SEO Unplugged.
and they called it "Is SEMrush Worth It?"
Yeah.
Pretty straightforward, right? And we just want to figure that out, right? Like, is it?
Yeah, yeah. Is it worth it? So, we're gonna try to like break down what they said in the podcast and hopefully get to an answer to that question.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so, before we dive into all the details, for those who maybe aren't as familiar with SEMrush,
Sure.
the podcast we listened to called it an all-in-one digital marketing tool.
Yeah, they were calling it the Swiss Army knife for marketers.
Oh,
So
wow.
you can kind of get a sense of, it's not just one tool; it's a whole bunch of tools all
Wow.
together. Really meant to like give you a comprehensive look at what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess let's dive into that a little bit.
Yeah.
What are some of the tools that SEMrush offers that make it so comprehensive? Well, the first thing they mentioned is keyword research.
Yeah, and I think this is something that, everyone kind of gets when you're talking about SEO, right?
Yeah.
It's all about like figuring out what are people searching for and how to get my website to show up for those searches.
Exactly.
But SEMrush really takes it a step further.
Right.
I mean, it's not just about finding those high volume keywords. It's also about, assessing keyword difficulty. Like
Right.
how hard is it actually going to be to rank for this keyword?
Yeah.
And then also they have a really cool feature for competitor keyword analysis. So you can actually see what keywords your competitors are targeting and how well they're ranking for them.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. And so I think when we think about like, is SEMrush worth it?
Mm.
Thinking about that from a strategic standpoint, like if you can get insights into what keywords your competitors are going after and you can see, okay, this is what's working for them, maybe this is something that I should be focusing on as well.
Right. Or maybe they're missing something that you're like, oh, I could totally capitalize on this.
Exactly. Yeah. So I mean, that's a huge value add right there, just in terms of like understanding the competitive landscape.
Yeah, absolutely. So another thing they mentioned in the podcast is the site audit tool.
Yeah.
And this is all about basically making sure that your website is technically sound, for SEO.
Yeah. It's funny because like a lot of people when they think about SEO, they think about keywords and content. Yeah. But there's a whole technical side to it as well. And your website has to be, healthy in the eyes of Google
Yeah, help.
in order for it to rank well.
Oh, so this is like, making sure all of the links work and
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are there any broken links? Is your website loading quickly? Is it mobile friendly? All of these things are really important ranking factors for Google. So if your website isn't technically sound, you could be doing all the right things in terms of keywords and content,
Yeah.
but you're still not going to rank well.
I see.
So having a tool like SEMrush that can actually like crawl your website and identify any technical issues
Yeah.
is super valuable.
Yeah, and it's probably something that a lot of people don't think about, right? Like they're so focused on the content side of things
Right.
that they kind of forget about the technical foundation.
Absolutely.
Okay, so another tool that they talked about was backlink analysis.
Yeah, backlinks are huge when it comes to SEO.
Yeah.
They're basically like votes of confidence from other websites.
Oh.
So the more high quality backlinks you have pointing to your website, the more Google is going to trust your website.
Oh, interesting.
And the higher you're going to rank in the search results. So SEMrush has a really great tool for analyzing your backlinks.
Okay.
So you can see who's linking to you,
Mm-hmm.
and you can also use it to find new backlink opportunities.
Oh, cool. So like if you see a competitor has a backlink from a certain website,
Exactly.
you could reach out to that website and be like, hey,
Yep.
I have similar content.
Absolutely. And that's
Yeah.
a really strategic way to use SEMrush, right? It's not just about like, okay, I need more backlinks.
Yeah.
It's about, okay, let me look at my competitors, see who's linking to them, and then target those same websites.
Yeah, very cool. Okay, so the next thing they talked about, which I think is, one of the really big selling points of SEMrush,
Uh-huh.
is the competitor analysis tools.
Yeah.
I mean, this is huge, right? Like being able to see what your competitors are doing.
Absolutely. And I think what's so great about SEMrush is that it gives you such a deep level of insight into your competitors.
Yeah.
I mean, you can see what their top performing pages are. You can see what keywords they're ranking for. You can even see their advertising strategies.
So like their PPC campaigns and stuff like that.
Exactly. Yeah. So you can really get a sense of like, okay, what's working for them and what's not working for them.
Huh.
And then you can use that information to inform your own strategies.
Yeah, so you're not just, kind of like guessing in the dark.
Right.
You can actually see what's working for other people in your industry.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's really where the value of SEMrush comes in.
Yeah, absolutely. So moving on, they also talked about some content optimization tools.
Yes.
They specifically mentioned the SEO writing assistant.
Yeah, this is a really cool tool.
Yeah.
It basically helps you to optimize your content for SEO. So as you're writing, blog posts or a website page, the SEO writing assistant will give you suggestions for things like, what keywords to include, how to improve your readability.
Oh, wow.
All sorts of things to make sure that your content is both, engaging for readers and optimized for search engines.
Right. So it's not just about like stuffing keywords into your content.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's about creating high quality content that people actually want to read.
Yeah.
But also making sure that it's, visible to search engines.
I see. So it kind of helps you strike that balance
Really.
between like writing for humans and writing for the Google bots.
Exactly.
Okay. And then finally, they talked about rank tracking, which is obviously a very important part of SEO.
Right. You need to know how you're doing.
Yeah. You got to know if you're moving up in the rankings or not.
Exactly. And so SEMrush has a tool that allows you to track your keyword rankings over time. So you can see, okay, I'm ranking number 10 for this keyword today, but, a month from now, I want to be ranking number 5.
Right.
So it allows you to set goals and track your progress.
Very cool. Very cool. All right. So we've talked about a lot of different tools here.
Yeah, we have.
That SEMrush offers, and it definitely seems like a very comprehensive platform.
Absolutely.
But let's kind of shift gears a little bit and talk about like the pros and cons of SEMrush.
Yep.
Like, is it actually worth it?
Mm-hmm.
And so the first pro that they mentioned in the podcast is that it's an all-in-one SEO toolkit.
Yeah, and I think that's a huge selling point for a lot of people. Instead of having to subscribe to like 5 different SEO tools,
right,
you can just have one tool that does everything.
And it's all integrated.
Exactly. Yeah, and it all works together seamlessly.
Yeah.
So that's a big time saver, and it's just more convenient.
Yeah. Yeah, I can imagine that would be really appealing to like busy marketers.
Absolutely.
Okay, so another pro that they mention is that SEMrush is great for competitor research.
Yeah, and we kind of touched on this earlier, but I mean, it's worth reiterating because it's so important. I mean, being able to see what your competitors are doing and how they're succeeding is just so valuable.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like you're getting like insider information.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And you can use that information to make sure that you're staying ahead of the curve.
Yeah, it's huge. All right, so another pro that they mentioned is that SEMrush is constantly being updated with new features.
Yeah, and I think that's really important because the world of digital marketing is constantly changing.
Oh, yeah, it's so fast-paced.
Exactly. And so you need a tool that can keep up with those changes.
Yeah.
And SEMrush is really good about that. They're always adding new features and improving existing features.
So you're not just like paying for something that's going to become obsolete in a year.
Right, exactly, yeah.
Okay, so another interesting pro that they mentioned is that SEMrush can actually help you to improve your PPC and social media strategies.
Yeah, and I think this is something that a lot of people don't realize about SEMrush.
Yeah.
They think of it as an SEO tool, but it can actually be used for so much more than that.
Oh, so it's not just like siloed to SEO.
Exactly.
You can kind of use it across your different marketing channels.
Exactly. And so I think that's a big value add, especially if you're, a small business owner or a marketer who's wearing multiple hats.
Right.
You can use SEMrush to help you with all of your digital marketing efforts.
Yeah, that's really cool. And then the final pro that they mentioned is that SEMrush has a user-friendly interface.
Yeah.
And that it offers tons of learning resources.
Yes, and I think that's really important because, SEMrush is a powerful tool.
Yeah, it can be a little intimidating.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
And so it's great that they have, a user-friendly interface that makes it easy to use.
Yeah.
And they also have a lot of great resources like tutorials and blog posts and webinars.
Okay.
That can help you to learn how to use the tool effectively.
So they kind of hold your hand a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. They don't just throw you into the deep end.
Right. That's great. All right, so now let's talk about some of the cons.
Okay.
Because no tool is perfect.
Right.
And so the first con that they mention is that SEMrush can be expensive.
Yeah, it's not cheap.
Especially for small businesses or freelancers.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think this is where you really need to weigh the costs and benefits.
Right.
Is SEMrush going to be worth the investment for you?
Yeah, can you actually afford it?
Exactly.
Another con that they mentioned is that some of the tools may be overkill if you only need basic SEO help.
Yeah, and I think this goes back to what we were talking about earlier about SEMrush being an all-in-one tool. If you're just starting out with SEO or if you have very basic needs,
Yeah.
you might not need all of the features that SEMrush offers.
I see. I see.
So you might be better off with a more basic tool.
That's more affordable too.
Exactly.
And then the final con that they mention is that there is a bit of a learning curve for beginners.
Yeah.
Even though SEMrush does have a user-friendly interface.
Right. It's still a powerful tool, and there's a lot to learn.
Yeah.
So it's not something that you're just going to be able to pick up and use immediately.
Right. You're going to have to invest some time in learning how to use it.
Exactly.
Okay, so taking all of that into account, who do you think SEMrush is really for?
Yeah, I think SEMrush is a good fit for businesses that are serious about SEO and digital marketing.
Okay.
If you're just kind of dabbling in SEO, then SEMrush might be overkill.
Right.
But if you're really committed to improving your online presence and you're willing to invest the time and money, then SEMrush can be a really valuable asset.
Yeah. So it's not really for beginners, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, it can be for beginners.
Okay.
But you really need to be committed to learning how to use it.
I see.
It's not a set it and forget it kind of tool.
Right. You're going to have to actually roll up your sleeves and just dig into it.
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess the final question here is SEMrush worth it?
Yeah. I mean, based on what we heard in the SEO Unplugged podcast, I would say yes.
Okay.
SEMrush is worth it. But
there's always a but.
There's a but.
Yeah.
It's not for everyone.
Right.
If you're on a tight budget or if you have very basic SEO needs, then there are definitely cheaper alternatives out there.
Right. So it really depends on your individual situation.
Exactly.
And your needs and goals.
Yeah.
But if you are serious about SEO and you're looking for a comprehensive tool that can help you to improve your rankings and drive more traffic to your website, then SEMrush is definitely worth considering.
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. Well, I think that's a great place to wrap up our deep dive on SEMrush.
Yeah.
We covered a lot of ground today.
We did.
We talked about the different tools that SEMrush offers. We talked about the pros and cons. We talked about who it's for.
And we even answered the big question.
Yeah, is it worth it?
Is it worth it?
So hopefully this has given you a better understanding of SEMrush and whether or not it's the right tool for you.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, it's really up to you to decide.
Yeah.
Based on your own individual needs and budget.
Right.
But hopefully this has given you the information you need to make an informed decision.
Absolutely. And, if you are interested in learning more about SEMrush, you can always check out their website. Yeah. Or listen to that SEO Unplugged podcast episode.
Right. They go into a lot more detail.
That we kind of use as the basis for our discussion today.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
Thanks for having me.
And I'll see you next time.
Yeah.